Hello and welcome to Actually Intelligent. I'm your host, Max Tone, and today I am joined by Peter Purcell, the founder and CEO of Poplar. Peter, thanks so much for joining today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Max. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. I am really excited to have you joining us and chatting about Poplar and AI and marketing. Without giving too much away, though, I do want to pass it back over to you to give us a quick overview of who you are and what you are building with Poplar.
Sure. Yeah. So, I have worked in marketing for about 12 years now, most mainly for technology startups, mainly SaaS, everywhere from, pre-seed to Series G. And so I've been lucky enough to both lead teams as well as, contribute and kind of see the entire process in a very intimate way. Um, and one of the kind of highest ROI forms of marketing for the B2B SaaS space that emerged in the last few years, founder-led marketing on LinkedIn. And so I got really curious about it and started a little agency as a side project. And so I would interview founders and kind of pull out their domain expertise, and and then kind of turn that into really compelling content and then drive a lot of business and build trust and authority that way for their companies. And so but then I got to the point where I started thinking, why does this agency model is a little clunky? It's very expensive. There's got to be a better way. And so that led to me sort of productizing that process, which is how Poplar was born.
Awesome. And so, with that, when it comes to productizing it, how did you go about doing that with Poplar? And it sounds like you've, built AI tools, a platform or processes, like you said, productizing that expertise and, expertise.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty simple. Like basically, the problem that the reason why founder-led marketing agencies exist, I mean, is really sort of a matter of convenience. Because most founders are, or executives in general, are incredibly busy. So they don't have time to like be a full-time LinkedIn influencer or a thought leader. Generally, some it sort of comes naturally to, and they're great, but most don't. However, I think most founders in the SaaS space, and specifically AI SaaS, are becoming more and more aware that they need to maintain an active LinkedIn or X presence in order to kind of show the market that they are, the thought leader in whatever their niche is, and that they are active and that they're, a participant in the conversation and actively contributing and not just sort of hiding behind their brand. And it also just makes sense because, the ROI on a real human being building a presence and engaging with the community, say on LinkedIn, is like 10x, that of a brand. And so it's kind of like a no-brainer awareness play and lead generation play for software CEOs. And but they still run into the same problem. Like they have a million things to do, a million things to think about. Oftentimes they're busy building or on sales calls, and they don't have time to sit down and write a LinkedIn post. And they have all of this domain expertise in their heads, but they just need someone to help pull it out of their heads. And that's what agencies do. Usually they interview them once a month or once a week, or some sort of regular cadence. They take those insights, they put them into post, they schedule it for, say, a given founder, and then it goes out. Sometimes they'll support that with ads in order to sort of guarantee a certain level of performance, and that's great. But that can cost anywhere between $3,000 to $10,000 a month. And so again, I looked at this and was like, there's just a more efficient system here. What is it? And so that's how I created Poplar. And Poplar is essentially, again, a productized version of that process. But what it really is a chatbot that's optimized for LinkedIn post writing, as well as LinkedIn, post analytics. And it just gives you a place where you can literally say, well, where you can literally, just give it one small sort of crumb of an idea, and it'll turn that into polished content that has a very, very high probability of performing well because of all the research that's gone into the product. And then it's all
Gotcha.
based on basically becoming sort of this AI digital twin, social media manager, social media strategist for a given executive or anyone trying to build their presence on LinkedIn. It builds out this very robust voice profile of each founder, and so it's very close to being at the point where you can say, "Hey, schedule next week's content for me." That's all you need to say, and it knows your voice. It knows the optimal times at which to post, and it'll just go ahead and do that and drop them in your calendar, be ready to go, and automatically post without you having to do anything. So
Yeah.
it's a very exciting time for kind of the evolution of content creation. But and I'm happy to talk about how we prevent against AI slop and how we prevent against it being generic. But you know, at the end of the day, it makes it so anyone, no matter how busy they are, no matter how big their time investment is, they can become sort of a reliable content creator on these platforms.
Yeah. I love that. And it's definitely something where you have people that have really deep domain expertise, but social media, like at LinkedIn, may not be an area where they have that deep
Right.
expertise. And so having an aid that they can do kind of more or less on their own time makes a lot of sense. I'm curious when it comes to understanding someone's voice and that domain expertise, how much teaching does one have to do to get the tool to be super effective? And from your experience, has it been a lot of like, do you have a way of onboarding, or is it a lot of just kind of play around, like have a conversation with it, and then by the end, it will be able to have your expertise,
Yeah,
understand your
so
voice?
there's really no teaching required. I mean, obviously, like the more time you spend sort of building out your voice profile and the more data that the tool has, the better it'll get. But it's made to be high, like obviously, like convenience and productivity is sort of a hard, ambiguous outcome to sell, but it certainly adds a lot of value, and so it's made to be as convenient as possible. And so it works both like on a level of just purely self-serve. Somebody who has no idea, first time user can come in and figure it out very easily. But then also with our bigger agency customers, and some of our bigger just kind of larger teams who want to scale the use of these voice profiles across their entire team, we do more white glove manual onboarding.
Gotcha.
But essentially, it all you have to do is drop in your LinkedIn profile URL, and it'll crawl all of your past posts,
Okay.
understand as much of the performance as it can. You can drop in, say, your website URL if that's a reliable source of information for your business, which it generally is. It'll
Yeah.
automatically crawl that, and then we also integrate with all of the AI meeting note takers, Google Drive,
Okay.
Notion, all of the sort of living knowledge bases that currently exist, as well as things like Claude's, your knowledge base within Claude. And so with a few clicks, you can sort of import your entire existing knowledge base. It'll use all that automatically to kind of inform the way it writes about you and guarantee that posts are in your voice. And then from there, you can get really granular about kind of building out your own writing styles or adjusting your own, so it'll sort of learn your writing style, but then you can make adjustments to it. You can explore new writing styles. You can add, customizations to the way the writer writes. And so you can make it extremely unique to you. And no other tool that I'm aware of on the market currently allows for that, especially at scale. So like you mentioned, there's a lot of people with domain expertise, but don't post, right? Like we run into that all the time across like engineering organizations. Like, of course, sales
Yeah.
organizations have an incentive to post, but engineers generally don't post, but they have all this knowledge. And so if only there were a way to, make it very, very easy for them to just ask what's trending in my niche that's relevant to me specifically today. Boom, here's 10 ideas. Ooh, I like this one. I'm going to draft this. And I'm
Yeah.
going to either post it or schedule. So
Yeah, I like that. And I was going to ask, how do you avoid looking like any other, I shouldn't say any other, but looking like another kind of AI marketing tool or an
yeah,
assistant type of thing? And I think you're kind of getting at it where you have just a whole suite of different kind of integrations or built-in functions that help push you to that next level and to provide some additional value there for the user. Um,
yeah, at the end
yeah,
of the day, it all comes down to, it's about being as individual as possible, because I think we all want to avoid a world where, like, say you go on LinkedIn and everything is just AI generated. I mean, we're already kind of there. And
yeah,
so any opportunity to create, and like, I'm not like it, obviously AI generated content can be extremely helpful. Obviously it can help people, flesh out their ideas, and it gives people, more of a power to communicate, which is great. But when it's sort of like content for the sake of content, it becomes, slop, right? And so we want to protect against that as much as possible, give people greater access to their real authentic voice. And that's what Poplar allows you to do. So it's always sort of on brand, because it's pulling directly from, everything that's specifically relevant to, say, you as the user.
yeah, yeah, it totally makes sense. And I'm curious. So I do want to talk about the taste or
Yeah,
being able to implement the taste and just slop in general. And you're right. I'm seeing this now probably multiple times a week, where before it was once a month, maybe once a week, where people are talking about those different uh, you can spot, like, I think what I'm talking about. When you're on LinkedIn, you can see
totally.
this, it's almost like a framework of a post, and everybody is doing it, and it's very obvious that that was more or less likely to have been written by AI.
Totally.
There's probably a reason for that, right? Like, they are formatted that way because there's probably something that's telling the algorithm this works well on
Right.
the platform and with readers. So I'm curious then, if I'm just, I guess, before I throw my assumption in there, what is your kind of take on that taste and slop, and how are you guys getting ahead of that with Poplar?
Sure. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's so easy to spot. I mean, I think it's easy for everybody to spot at this point. Like, there's the most basic telltale signs, like the use of M dashes, things like that. Then there's the use of sort of like, it's not X, it's Y type of phrasing.
Yeah,
Those are the two big ones that always stand out to me. And then just the super choppy, like,
yeah,
broken up text. That all comes from, like legitimate data that, like, shorter attention spans, especially with short form content, you can get more sort of readership by breaking up text, and never kind of doing more than two sentences together, as opposed to, the traditional sort of paragraph format. And so the AI models all write like that because they have, data telling them that that's the type of copywriting that's optimized for engagement. And they're not wrong. The problem is, it's just now so saturated that it's becoming, it's just becoming too commonplace. And now it's sort of becoming, unfortunately, it's becoming sort of yet another telltale sign of AI. So the type of writing that really, so how we prevent that is, we have a very complex system prompt um, that, first of all, prevents against any use of the traditional sort of telltale AI writing signs. But also, again, it's all the knowledge. It's about content, like the subject matter first, because that's where the value comes from. And so the formatting matters less in comparison to that. And so if we're pulling very specific knowledge that's unique to an individual, and that's what's being used to kind of fuel the writing process, then by default, you're already going to get, a level of
mm,
copywriting that can't be replicated. And so
right,
that's kind of protection layer number one against sounding like slop. And then, within Poplar, you can get so specific. You can mimic different writing styles of, like, famous copywriters, for instance. Or you can say, like, I want my writing style to always have a contrarian take, or
Okay.
I want to be a motivator, something like that. And these are still somewhat generic, but then you can just upload your own writing style, or it'll just start to figure out what is your writing style over
Right.
time. And yeah, I mean, most of our customers are pleasantly surprised when they go and create their first post. We've had several different customers, like just in the very demo, just in the first demo call, say like, "Oh my God, I love this post. Like, can I keep this?" And it's like,
Yeah.
and so it just, it again, like the writing that it puts out is not this sort of generic AI slop that is like in the same structure for everyone who asks, say, GPT to write a LinkedIn post. It's always unique to the individual, both in format and subject matter. And so that's how we protect against AI slop.
Nice. I like that. Um, on that too, like how much human interaction or oversight, if at all, is needed to go from A to Z with the tool once you've got it? Let's just say you've got it up and running, you've been using it for a little while. Are you able to just go completely hands off, or do you need to be involved in that?
I mean, you need to be involved as far as, one needs to be involved just you need to tell it what you want it to do, right?
Yeah.
Um, but you can, use it like once and schedule a whole month's worth of content, for
Okay.
example, and that'll all just post and then you can, vanish. I mean, I don't recommend that, but like that's
Yeah.
totally possible. And it's also a massive time saver. Or you can go in and create posts on a, post by post basis every day or 3 times a week or whatever your cadence is. But a big piece of it is analytics. And so
Yeah.
Poplar actually learns from it, monitors post performance, learns from that,
Okay.
and then gets better every time. And so that's kind of the magic. Is it like it's like a it's two part. It knows your voice individually, kind of better than anyone. It's this living knowledge base that again is integrated with your meeting note takers and whatever you want it to be integrated with it. And so it's always learning more and more and more about you. And then it's always learning from what performs on LinkedIn. And so, the magic is that, where those two things sort of intersect, it just gets smarter and smarter. And before you know it, you have this, again, this AI sort of digital twin social media strategist who's the best social media strategist you can get, the most analytical with perfect memory, that's always
Yeah.
applying all of its learnings. And it sort of just outpaces any human equivalent at a certain level. But of course, it needs data to pull from. And so in the beginning, I would say it requires a little bit more of a hands-on effort. But again, you can get to the point where you can say, "Hey, Poplar, schedule me a month's worth of content." And you don't even have to tell it. It already knows to do it in your voice. It knows, it will algorithmically recommend the optimal post times, things like that. And basically always be sort of solving for optimal engagement and growth.
That sounds like the real superpower of the tool. I mean, not only are you able to have it generate your copy and things like that, but when it comes down to that strategy, timing, that sort of stuff is going to is what will really, I think, move the needle for people if you're not familiar with marketing. Um, so that's that's good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would say that, that really is the superpower. Like, at the end of the day, like this is, well, two things. One is AI writing isn't that interesting. So like, I try not to frame Poplar as an AI post writer because, like, Claude or GPT can easily do that. It's not that
Right.
interesting. But having something that, again, is sort of this living knowledge base that's ever evolving that can then learn from everything that happens and then, give you direct access to the platforms themselves, as well as all analytics. That's something that is super unique and, something that like, say, like a Claude or GPT cannot scale across an entire organization, across 100 different voices, and do that all simultaneously. So,
Right.
yeah, it's an interesting superpower for sure.
Well, Peter, I really appreciate your time. I have one probably final question
Go
here
for
as
it.
we look to wrap up. What do you think right now is overhyped or underhyped in AI? And that could be anything, whether it's a technology or it's the way the market is thinking about things, or is it, data centers? I'm just curious kind of what your perspective is on the market right now.
Yeah. I mean, my sort of overall take is that AI, it's obviously this massively convenient tool that opens up so much opportunity, and just increases capacity by, sort of infinite amounts. And I think it'll continue to do that. Um, but I think it just comes with a lot of it sort of creates its own new set of problems. Like if you
Yeah.
look at, like, I don't know, a little bit off topic, but like if you look at cybersecurity, for example, you know, developers are able to push 10x the amount of code they were a year ago or 2 years ago, but now you have to secure all that code at the same pace. And so like application security teams, for instance, can't scale. And so you need an AI product to scale alongside, the increase in software development, right?
Right.
And so specifically overhyped or underhyped, I think like, um, I think what's not talked about enough is I think AI will go from highly convenient to potentially somewhat oppressive, like very quickly without us really realizing. And so I think that's something that we need to be, um, very aware of. I think something that's overhyped is AI replacing entire job functions. I mean, eventually that'll definitely happen, but I think we're just farther away from that than,
Yeah.
some of the sort of hyperbolic, media would have you believe. And so, I think like human strategy is still driving. It's obviously still driving, all of business, and I think will continue to for a long time because of the fact that we have so much context and experience. Now, as AI gets smarter, like it'll have more context and experience, and that's part of like what Poplar is doing. We certainly do not want to replace marketing strategy, your marketing strategists, I should say, but we can enable companies to do things that they similar to how, like an application security team that's traditionally human can't scale with an organization pushing orders of magnitude more code. If an organization wants to produce orders of magnitude more content across its entire team, that's just impossible. You can't hire like essentially like a social media manager or ghostwriter for every single person in an organization. So this tool allows you to scale, with AI. So a little bit, yeah. I mean, some things are, yeah. I mean, I think replacing entire job functions totally overhyped. I think,
Yeah.
maybe underhyped is, or maybe under what's not fully understood yet is the ability to really augment, capacity across an entire organization at every
Okay.
single job level, kind of all together at scale with full context. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat and meet with me today, Peter. I really enjoyed our conversation. I definitely want to find a way to try out Poplar. So we'll be in
Yeah,
touch, but I hope
absolutely. Yeah,
you
you're welcome to use it.
enjoy the rest of your day.
Sounds good, Max. So good to see you. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.